I'm turning into my mother. Hi, I'm Celeste from Bookish and Bell, and this is the Minimalism tag. The first question is, what drew you to minimalism? I think I was initially most interested in the minimalist aesthetic, and then as I strived to cultivate that aesthetic in my own home by decluttering, especially most recently when I really went after it after reading The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo, that kind of sparked in me this desire to really implement minimalism more radically and in other aspects of my life. It's just the rewards speak for themselves. Every time I applied minimalism to some aspect of my life, whether it was my wardrobe or the way I organized things digitally, or how many things I was committed to doing in my life and letting go of the guilt for not wanting to do something that I felt like I should want to do, it always was so rewarding. So it just kept spreading through more aspects of my life. The second question is, how did you start the decluttering process? So I read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and I started with my closet, which she thought would be an easy place to start because you would be the least attached to things like that, because clothing wouldn't be as sentimental or something. It was actually probably the hardest place for me to start, but that kind of worked for me. And after I saw how rewarding it was to really reduce my wardrobe by more than half, things just carried on from there. The third question is, have you ever counted your things and how many things do you own? Now, I'm a big believer that minimalism is not about having a tiny number of things. It's about having the right number of things for you. So I don't live in a studio apartment or a tiny house. I have more things than a reasonable person would decide to actually count one by one. So no, I've not ever counted my things, and I don't think about it as some kind of competitive process to just try to get down to some specific number. It's kind of like with weight loss. You know when you feel like you're a healthy weight and you like the way that you look. No specific number on a scale is going to tell you that, and as long as you're shooting for a certain number as your goal, that's kind of defeating the point. And I feel like with minimalism, it's the same way. For me, if other people find value in reducing down to a certain number, I mean, I'm not going to tell you how to do what works for you, if that works for you. But for me, this is the way that works. The fourth question is, what are your tips for dealing with the desire for more? Now, in my life, the desire for more is primarily around clothing and accessories. And a big thing there is to unsubscribe from those email newsletters. You don't need people telling you all the stuff that you wish that you had. And don't go shopping just to blow off steam or for entertainment value. Try to avoid all of those triggers that create the wanting more, and then you just don't feel the wanting more because you actually have enough. If you do want something and it's been triggered organically inside of you from a lack of something, then that's a reasonable thing to go out and buy, and it still aligns with your goals. But if you're being affected by marketing, then that's not aligned with your goals for only having the things that you need. So the best thing you can do for yourself is set up those blocks in place to avoid the marketing. It's kind of like what I recommended at the end of my video about the 30-day minimalism challenge, and I'll link that down below, where I talk about how I turned off the notifications on my phone and my life isn't constantly interrupted by everything that's going on social media while I'm trying to interact with other people, because I turned off this thing that, you know, the apps want to constantly be targeting me and getting me to engage. And if you tell them no, then you can focus on that person, and when you actually want to go into the app because it's an organic desire to go into the app comes up in you, you go and you check Instagram. And in the same way, if you shut off all of the email subscriptions from Madewell and Anthropology and everything, and then sometime organically you just decide, you know what, I really need a nice black dress, I don't have one of those, then you go out to the store and you specifically buy that thing. The fifth question is, how do you deal with other non-minimalists in your life? Now, there's the struggle of dealing with someone who's not a minimalist if you have to live with them, and that's not something that I'm a good expert on, because my husband is a minimalist as well. He's been a huge inspiration to me. He's been living minimally for longer than I have, and I feel very, very, very lucky to have him as a partner, and I think that together we can create our home, really having these values and hopefully instill them in our children. And I'm just grateful that that's not a challenge I have to deal with. So I'm definitely not the person to give advice on that front if you have a family or roommates who have a lot of clutter that's driving you crazy. However, I will say, in terms of interacting with the other people in my world, for one thing, I think it's really important to remember that you can get rid of gifts and you don't have to hold on to them just because they were gifts. So that's a big thing. People are going to give you stuff. It doesn't mean you're not grateful. You thank them for the thing. The gift serves its purpose in the moment that they establish that social connection with you by giving you the gift. And then if you don't need it or you don't want it, you just let it go. Situation dealt with. No one's hurt. In terms of their clutter bothering you because you want for them what you have, like it's been rewarding for you and you want to spread that, I think for one thing it's really important to remember that what makes you happy isn't necessarily going to make everyone else happy. So you should question, does this person enjoy their lifestyle even though I wouldn't enjoy that lifestyle? And if that's the case, you should let them live their life their way. But also, I think you can be a model to the people around you by just talking about your own self specifically without talking about them and making them feel judged. You can just talk about how this has really helped you. And I guarantee people are going to start asking you what they can do and taking up some of the practices to the extent that they want to in their own life. And they might not get all obsessed with it like you are, and they might not radically reduce everything that they own. But as I've started doing this, I mean, it's touched everybody. It has radiated out, and everyone in my life is coming to me saying, hey, you really inspired me, and I read that book too, and here's what I took away from it. Or I saw that you did this thing and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go through and clean out my closet, and then I donated all of this stuff. Almost everybody that's close to me in my life has said something like that to me in the last few months since I read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and like 5 people in my life have read the book as well, just unprompted, just because they heard me talking about it and how rewarding it's been. So that's a big thing too, is just be the change you wish to see in the world, I guess. I'm turning into my mother. And the 6th question is, do you have any guilty pleasures in your life where minimalism does not apply? I don't really believe in guilty pleasure. I think if something gives you pleasure, it's not guilty. And I think the whole point of minimalism is to get rid of the things that aren't giving you joy and make room for the things that are giving you joy. So, do I have collections? Yes. Do I have things that I own that are not 100% practical and utilitarian? Yes. But those things don't make me feel guilty. They just make me feel pleasure. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you do the tag as well, I would love if you sent me a link. Just post it right down there in the comments. Let me know what you think in the comments as well. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. It helps me out a lot, and it only takes you a second. It'll really help me get more exposure for my channel. I'll show up earlier in search results and stuff like that, so I really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe if you want to hear more from me, and that also really helps me get more exposure as well. And you can check out my blog if you want to see more. So bye bye, happy tidying!